Hey guys, Dave here. Welcome to Centurion's Review, the punk rock band of war game review institutions. Today we're doing a playthrough and a review of the solitaire World War II game, Heroes of Telemark. It's from Decision Games. It's a very simple game about the Commando Raids in Norway during World War II. Essentially the raids were to try and prevent the Germans from developing an atomic bomb. So let's play it and see how it is. To start the game, we're first going to place the 5 objective markers. There's 6 that are included with the game, but you just randomly select 5 and put them out here upside down so you don't know what they are. Then you place your camp. There's a random location placement table here, so you just roll on it. I rolled a 1, so it goes to Bergen, or to Bergen, which is right here. That's a... Oops. This is the camp. Yeah, it goes right there. That's a bad location because it's far from the objectives. The camp can be used for 2 things, resupply or gain intelligence. For resupply, instead of moving, you'll remain there at the camp and you expend recruit points to buy new units or equipment, or you can use it to gain intelligence. If you're there, you can roll in on an odd result. You can reveal any objective on the map to see what it is. Next we choose the mission. So the mission is Operation Freshman, so the alert level is at 1. And your mission is to recover the PU-239 sample and transport it to the camp. And then execution is 8 ops. What that means is you pull 8 cards from the deck, and those become your deck you'll use in the game. More cards can be added to it later in the game. Like, for example, if you win combat and stuff, usually you gain some ops, so you'll add cards to the bottom. If you run out of cards, of course, the game is done, or if all your units are destroyed. Alright, and then logistics, 10 RP, so we can use those 10 RP to buy units in a minute. And commanded signal is 3. That means you have a stacking limit of 3, so you can have 3 units in a space, plus any number of equipment, plus any number of leaders, and you get 1 leader for free. I'll pick out a force here and then explain to you what it is. So I picked out the forces here. I have 3 commandos, those are the 2 3s, those cost 2 each. And then a Bren gun, which costs 1, and the leader was free, but the supplies that he has cost 2, and the radio costs 1, so that's a total of 10, so I have 0 RP left. Radio is pretty important because you get cards where if you have a radio, good things can happen to you, but there is 1 card where a bad thing can happen to you. And supplies, those can either be expended so you can move 1 extra space. No one's going to do that. What they're really going to use it for is the other effect. You can expend that at the beginning of combat, and then each of your units throughout the whole combat will get to fire twice instead of once. So that's a good piece of equipment to have. So instead of pushing around a big stack with all this stuff on here, I'm just going to use a token to represent the whole stack there. So on the first turn, you either have to parachute in or you take a glider in. All these guys are commandos, so they can parachute. So there's a parachute table here, and they're going to roll on that to see what happens. And they roll a 3, so they get a safe landing. So they wanted to land here. So they can't move on the turn that they parachuted, so they just go to the objective, or not the objective, the card segment. And this card says, make an alert check, and let's do that real quick. 3, they were above the alert level, so there's no effect, which is good. So now they start a regular turn, and they can move. And all of them have a movement rate of 3, so they go straight to the objective. 1, 2, 3. Interestingly, mountains don't cause you to stop or anything when you move through them, which surprised me. However, if you move through an industrial building, then you have to stop, or if you move through a town. Alright, so he's there, so pick a card, make an alert check. 6 is above the alert levels, so no effect. That's good. So now they go to the objective segment and they reveal this. Let's see what it is. Ambush, that's a bad one. So on the ambush, you get enemy forces attacking you equal to the alert level. Alert level is 1, so you got one guy attacking you. As you see here, this guy's got a plus, so that gives him a +1 on the tactical edge die roll, and I have a leader, so I get +1 on that. So we'll roll for the Germans first. They get a 5, which becomes a 6, and then the other guys 5, which becomes a 6. So we check, since it's a tie, you check the terrain effects chart, and they're on a town, so tactical superiority ties go to the Germans, so the Germans will go first. This guy will roll a dice, and if he gets a 4 or less, he'll kill an enemy unit. So he rolled a 2, so he killed this guy here. Let's move these up here so they're easier to see. Alright, now my guys are going to go. So the first one will go, he needs a 1 or 2. Gets it, so he kills this guy. Alright, so time to start a new turn. So 1, 2, he's going to move that objective. German raid, if the operating force has a radio, raise the alert level by 1. Yes, he does have a radio, so the alert level goes to 2. Alright, so now we reveal the objective. And this is what we were looking for, the PU-239. We have to transport it back to the camp. So let's place this with these guys. And start a new turn. So 1, 2, 3. And draw a card and see what happens. Go to combat procedure, so we'll roll 1 dice to see how many Germans there are. 6, that's pretty bad. We may lose here. Alright, so let's move these up here. You put these in order of strength. This is really bad because like that one there with the 5, he hits on a 1 through 5. Alright, and they both get a +1 to their tactical edge, so the Germans will go first, and they get a 2, and then the Commandos will go, and they get a 4, so the Commandos go first. They're going to expend the supplies here, so each guy can roll twice. So first one gets a 6, which is a miss, and a 1. The 1 hits, so it kills this one. Now the Germans will go, this flak will fire on a 4 or less, he'll hit. Yeah, he gets a 4, so he kills this commando. Alright, this commando will go, and he rolls twice, because the supplies were used. He got a 2 on the second roll, so kills off the flak. And now this will go. He misses, and now the leader will go. He only hits on a 1. So he misses. So these are in the wrong order. That should have went first. Alright, so this one goes now. And he hits and he kills the commando. And then the last 2 will go. 3, he killed the leader, so the whole force, including the leader, is dead, so it's been a defeat. We'll play one more scenario. I'll use slightly different gear and stuff to give you an idea of how some of the gear works in this. So I've put out 5 objectives, and now I'm going to roll to see where the camp goes. The camp goes to 3, which is 2 Stavanger, which is down here. Not a particularly good location either. This is off the board. Alright, so I drew a card. And for this one, the alert level is 1. And to win, you got to reveal 3 or more objectives by the end of the scenario. You don't have to blow them up, you just have to reveal them. And execution is 7 apps, so let's draw 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And logistics is 8 RP. Command and signal is 3, so you got a stacking limit of 3. And if you're successful in this, in your next scenario that you play, you can reveal 1 objective for free. So let's just put that there. Alright, for this mission, the leader was free. I purchased a pistol for him for 1. That gives an additional +1 to tactical edge. There's 1 engineer and 2 commandos. Some of the other stuff I haven't explained really is like the Bren gun, which we're not going to use in this. This increases your combat strength by 1 if you're carrying it, and each troop can carry up to 2 things. And there's also some composition C, so if you don't have an engineer, a regular troop can use this to blow things up. And then the last thing is the airstrike. The airstrike will allow you to attack before the combat occurs. The problem with the airstrike is it costs 4 RP, and like for this scenario, we only started with 8 RP, so that would use half your points, so that's why we're not using the airstrike. Alright, so let's start up the game. This wants to land right here again. And the force has both commandos and an engineer. The engineer cannot parachute, he has to use a glider, so he'll roll separately for landing. So as far as the commandos, let's roll for the parachuting. They get a 1. Eliminate 1 unit and then disperse the rest. That sucks. So eliminate that guy and roll to disperse. 5, so they go to there. And let me roll for the engineer. Engineer lands with them safely. So that's there to represent the stack. Alright, so they can't move since they just landed. Keep this card played at any time to either automatically gain tactical superiority or implement the PSYOP rule for 1 op card pick. What the PSYOP rule is you can pick a card, and if you don't like it, you can put it on the bottom of the deck and then just draw the next card. Alright, so next turn they move. And the engineer only moves at 2, so they got a maximum speed of 2. So they're going to move over to here and draw a card. Make an alert check. Alert level is greater, or excuse me, die roll is greater than the alert level, so you pick up the base, then redeploy it with a random deployment procedure. So I rolled a 1, and it goes to Bergen, which is up here. Alright, so now we reveal the objective to see what it is. It's abandoned, so we'll pull that off the map. So they got to reveal 2 more in order to win the mission. So they're going to do their next turn now. 1, 2, and draw a card. If the operating force has a radio, no it does not. If no radio, no effect. Since I only had 8 RP, I couldn't afford to buy a radio, even though the radio's only 1, but then, I don't know. I just figured I'd be better off with Tactical Edge, getting an additional +1 with the pistol. So let's reveal this one. Heavy water drums. So that's revealed. Alright, so now he'll take his next turn and move again. So he moves to there and draws 1. If you have supplies, if no supplies, no effect. But if I had supplies, you can expend one and only one to gain one app or reveal one objective, your choice. Alright, so you reveal this one. And it's plutonium. So theoretically they just won the scenario, but I'm going to have them go back to the base just for fun. Because if you get back to the base, that means when you play your next scenario, you get to keep the officer you had, so you'll start with 2 leaders instead of 1. So I'm going to try and get to the base. So 1, 2, 3. Let's draw a card. Make an alert check. They pass. And then 1, 2, they're back at the base and they've won the game. So there's a campaign version of this too, where after you win a scenario, then the following happens. So you retain half the RPs you have left, plus the number of op cards rounded down. So if you had 2 RP, you'd start with 1 extra, and if like here we have 2 op cards left, so they'll add another 2. So your next scenario, you have an additional 3 RP. And there's 4 separate scenarios in this. If you win all 4, then you've won the campaign. If you lose one, you can retry the scenario, but if you lose it again, then you've lost the campaign. So what do I think of this? Well, this is another game that uses the Raider rules. They're very simple solitaire rules. It's good for a few plays. I mean, I've played probably 8 separate games and I'm starting to get bored of it, so you're not going to get massive replayability out of this, even though there is 4 scenarios. But it's not bad for what I pay for this, $15. Yeah, I paid $14.99, so for a $15 game, it's not bad. One thing about the game that I think is a little bit broken is whenever you're going to have combat, usually you just roll a dice to see how many Germans come. But if you roll a 6 and it's the first turn, let's say you parachute in right here and you draw a card which says you got to check the alert level, and if you fail, then you get attacked. So you roll a 6, now 6 Germans come in and they're probably going to kill you on the first turn. So out of all the games I've had, I think I've had 2 or 3 where on the first turn I was just wiped out. So that's a problem with the rules. But I mean, the game's fun. It's very simple, but you're not going to get much replayability out of it, like I said. So it's a good diversion, but I'd call it like a mediocre game overall. It's worth the $15, so if you see it and you need a game like to play in a hotel room or something that has a small footprint, probably work for you. If you're looking for a detailed game with a lot of strategy, well, this has very little strategy. The only real strategy is where you choose to parachute to, and I guess what objective order you go after the objectives or something, but that's about it. Most of it's just die rolling, so it's just kind of a random game. Thanks for watching and have a good evening.